My butt's numb. Yeah. Oh, that's too damn pretty not to get somewhere. Looking that way towards the mountain. Oh, yeah!
Good morning and welcome to Cooley Outdoors. I'm your host, Brandon Scott. And with me today is a nobody. It is a Sunday. Sabrina's working and Nash is going to go watch his brother drive in his first hydroplane race. Super cool. Wish I could go, but it's all right. So anyway, I'm out here by myself and I am on a I-90 corridor trail. So, you know, tons of other people. Sorry, I'm a bit tired. I only got 4 hours of sleep last night. Yeah, yay work. But hey, I got a weekend day off, so I'm going to use it. Which also means everybody else is going to be out here. It's shortly after 7 a.m. and there's already 35 cars here in a 30-car lot. And I'm expecting dozens more to show up here shortly. So what are we doing today? Like I said, we're on the Snoqualmie corridor. I-90 is just down the hill, facing the direction I am. I guess modernly this is now called the Ira Spring Trailhead after, yes, that Ira Spring. And your options are to go either to Mason Lake, Mountain Defiance, or Bandera Mountain. I'm going to go up the Bandera Mountain trail to Bandera Mountain. This is one of the first tall-ish peaks at 5-ish thousand feet to melt out in season, not named Mount Si or Mailbox Peak in the middle fork drainage, so possibly slightly less people than those peaks, but probably not. So I'm trying to get up high and get some views, and hopefully the sun will come out. So, being this is along I-90, there are going to be books that have descriptions on it because cajillions of people are going to want to do it because it's pretty easy to get to. It took me, we took exit 45 off I-90 and then 15 minutes of driving along a well-maintained dirt road, Forest Service road up here, and boom, you're at the trailhead. And like I said, it's 7:15 and there's already 40-odd cars here. So, two books that are going to have it is 100 Hikes in the Alpine Lakes and 55 Hikes around Snoqualmie Pass by Ira Spring, the guy that this trailhead is now named after, because there's more stuff to go do in this area too named after him. But anywho, both these books pretty much say the same thing. 7 miles, 6 hours, almost 3,000 feet, mid-May through October. And the only difference between the books is where the Mason Lake Trail splits off. One of them says the Mason Lake Trail doesn't split off till 2 miles. The other one doesn't say until 3/4 of a mile. I'm thinking it's 3/4 of a mile because that's the newer book. So the first 2-ish miles will be following the old road. And then we will be going through an old wildfire area from 1958, which was a pretty big fire. And then 3.5 miles we reach the false summit of Bandera, which is probably where I'll stop because the actual summit's only a couple hundred feet higher and you got to go down and then back up, and the actual summit's covered in trees. So probably not worth it, but we shall see. Depends on how many people are at the false summit. Let's go hit it. All right. Rex is parked there, and in the 10 minutes it's taking me to park and put my stuff on. Another 20 cars have shown up. So there's easily 50 cars here, and it's only 7:30 in the morning. So I will not be the only person on the trail today. It'll probably be hard to have footage without other people on the camera today. But 'tis what happens when you go out and go do a Snoqualmie corridor hike during the weekend. So, the renamed Ira Spring Trail, number 1038, Mason Lake 3.4, Bandera Mountain 3.8. And this is just how it works when you come do a Snoqualmie corridor hike on the weekend. It'll be mobbed by people. If you don't want to experience a billion people,
You know, only 500 million people or less come do it on the weekend or the weekdays, which is the blessing and the curse of my current job, is most of my days off come during the week. So yeah, I don't get to go do much with Nash, but at the same time, when I go out and go do stuff, I'm usually get the place to myself, and that's just how it is. So, just because this is a trail that everybody wants to come do doesn't make it easy. Gain almost 3,000 feet in 3.5 miles. It's almost 1,000 feet a mile, which is a lot. And also, one of the reasons they renamed this the Ira Spring Trail instead of whatever it was called, Mason Lake Way or the Bandera Mountain Trail, because when Ira Spring was running this trail and advocating for all trails to be preserved, this water crossing up here didn't have a bridge, so it was kind of treacherous to do. And the reason I'm standing back here is because there's a bunch of people taking pictures. But since he passed, they obviously renamed the trail after him, and they put in what looks to be a nice wide bridge. And I'd like to get some video and some pictures of this without any people. So I'm waiting for people to get their pictures done, and then it will be my turn. And Megan sounds quite boisterous. Ooh, that's nice. Oh, that's really nice. Yeah, that'd be sketchy to cross over. Nobody's behind me yet, so I can just kind of slither my way up here. They are continuing to move. Cool. Push it over to video and go. Peekaboo views coming off to our right, which is going to be our south. Oh yeah, this would have not been very fun to cross without a bridge. That is a big slide. That is a big slide. That's cool. Informally, I'm sure this is called the Ira Spring Bridge. That's a good shot there. Rotate the phone this way for a second. Cross over. Look down. Look up. Not quite as impressive looking up. We'll continue to look down and back up. That's a good shot there. And I can't do that while it's in video mode. Oh well. No, stay focused on that. See? Pretty dang good. And also pretty dang treacherous to cross without this bridge here. Cool, cool. And it just continues us all the way up. Don't know if that's actually Mason Creek or not. You might as well look, see what your mappy map says. Yes, that is Mason Creek. So coming up here fairly shortly, the trail should split, and going off to the left would be the way to Mason Lake and Mount Defiance, which I will probably do those trails at some point. In fact, I know I will do those trails at some point. They're easy to access. There's no reason not to do it. But that's not today. Alrighty. We've reached wilderness boundary, which is weird because on all the maps it says the wilderness boundary is the top of the ridge. We obviously aren't walking on top of the ridge, so who knows. Still haven't reached the trail split, so it may not be 3/4 of a mile. It may have got moved back to the 1.5 miles. We shall see. Okay, so obviously the 3/4 of a mile jaunt to the intersection was incorrect, unless I was as blind as a bat and missed it, because here we're bailing off the road after, I believe, that 1.5 or 2 miles. So either for once I completely missed a trail junction, or they moved it and it's not at 3/4 of a mile anymore. Oh well, now we really start climbing. Took me about 45 minutes, so a little under 3-mile-an-hour pace, but we're climbing good. We've gained almost 1,000 feet in this 2 miles, so it's fairly steep. I'm good and sweaty. There have been decent peekaboo views of the south side of the Snoqualmie River Valley at McClellan Butte and Kent Peak and such, but we're not quite high enough to see the big boys. I'm talking like Mount Daniel, the highest point in King County, Rainier, being able to look at the pass, so on and so forth. But now the real struggle begins. So obviously, when they renamed this trail, they also considerably redid the trail, because when Ira was still around and wrote the trail guides, he said you follow the road for 1.5 or 2 miles, and then you ditch the road and the trail goes straight up for 1 mile to reach the ridge line. Well, we haven't done that. We've been doing this long traverse for at least 2 miles. We finally hit our first switchback to traverse the other way, and there's more switchbacks there, and I'm guessing this is just gonna seesaw back and forth the last 1.5 miles and 1,500 feet-ish to the top. So they've redone this considerably, because the trail used to get to the ridgeline pretty quickly, and then you traversed the ridgeline for like 1.5 miles, and the top is pretty much right there, but obviously we got a ways to go yet. And also, somewhere along the way, I most definitely missed the trail junction where it goes to Mason Lake and Mount Defiance. So hopefully I'll spot that on the way back down and point that out, because eventually Nash and I will be doing that too. But we're at about 3,600 feet of elevation. Got to get to a little over 5. So slowly but surely we are gaining altitude, losing oxygen, and thinning on the plant life. So I believe the trail used to attain the ridgeline way back there already, but as we get higher and higher, you get to see more and more. So I believe that might be part of the Bandera airstrip, which is somewhere in here. That's McClellan Butte, which, yeah, it's pointy, but it's called McClellan Butte. Back that direction is Puget Sound and the great sprawling metropolis of Seattle. And here over my left shoulder, when I gain a little more distance into the clearing, will be, oh come on, yeah, more clearing, mostly vine maple in this scree slope, if you're wondering. And oh come on, how much further do I need to go? And it's a mountain. That would be Rainier. Continue back into the forest. So yes, this is still steep. I'm still sweating it up like a dog. It's still a thigh burner and a bun roaster, but it's doable. I was getting really scared at the prospect of that 1,700 feet straight up in a mile, but turns out that's not the direction the trail goes anymore. So this is much more enjoyable. Well, they really did change the trail a bunch, because right where all those people are standing is the junction. Mason Lake goes that way, and of course, going straight up the way I am is Bandera. That's weird. That's annoying. Why would you move the Mason Lake junction all the way up here? Was it really that bad going along Mason Creek? Who knows? But I thought I had the camera rolling, and I didn't. So now I do. There's the mountain. And there is not much above.
No.
It appears this is still just going straight up for maybe not 1,500 feet, but a ways. Oh. So away we go. Now, of course, the views will only get better when you get to the top, but at the same time, they're pretty damn good here. So if you want to stop at the junction or go to Mason Lake instead, you're more than welcome to do that. Oh God. Yeah, probably should have put the mic on. Oh well. Mountain, pretty Snoqualmie Valley, and that's what it looks like. Try and knock the sun down a little bit maybe, but we're kind of hiking straight into the sun, so I'll let this run for a couple of minutes so people not familiar with this kind of pseudo hike, pseudo scramble can see what it's like. But yeah, it was a nice, I mean, it was steep, but it was a nice graded switchbacking trail until you get to the intersection, and it looks like Mason Lake Trail is gonna continue being nice and fun and head for the saddle there, whereas Bandera gets down to the dirty business of hauling ass straight up, and you're just bouncing in between rocks. It's slow going. And it's steep, and you're gonna feel it in your knees and feel it in your butt. And this is the fun part. Going up's the fun part, because you're pushing up against gravity. Going down is gonna be the sucky part. So that's I-90, an 8-lane wide interstate. Seattle's back that direction. Snoqualmie Pass is around the corner over there. Well, obviously that's Mount Rainier. And then that other line you can sometimes see through the forest is the old railroad, which has been turned into the what was called the John Wayne Pioneer Trail and is now called the Palouse to Cascades Trail. It is a rail trail that starts in North Bend in the vicinity of Twin Falls State Park, and I think it's just about completely connected all the way across the state along the old Milwaukee Northern Railroad grade to Spokane. Because I know in the last couple of years they've restored, revitalized, repurposed, whatever word you want to use, for a couple of those railroad bridges that went over like some ravines, and the big one at Beverly going over the Columbia River near Vantage that were kind of unsafe to go across. Nice bike trail, railroad grade hike and bike trail all the way across. And I think, no, I'm not sure if it's connected clear through the Yakima training grounds, the military training grounds. I know there's a tunnel that goes underneath it in parts. I'm not sure you can go through the tunnel, because I know there's an east portal and a west portal, but I'm not sure if it connects all the way through. Whew. I think we're getting close. We're getting back to the trees, so maybe. Ooh. So if you think you're up for mountain scrambling, this is what it's like, and this is fairly easy. If there wasn't a trail here, you'd be, I mean, I understand going straight up is the quickest route and the least destruction to all this meadows, but I mean, if there wasn't a trail up to this and Nash and I were off trail peak bagging, we'd be zigzagging through this, or angling. We wouldn't be going straight up, because going straight up kind of fluffing sucks. But we should be getting close. Close being a relative term. I mean, I'm probably within a quarter mile of the summit, but it's gonna be another half an hour. All these stalks are, I believe, last year's bear grass, and it looks like it was a explosion bloom, probably because we had such a cool wet spring. And then this is this year's candidates. I'm about a week to 2 weeks too early for them, but that's okay. I'll get my bear grass fix somewhere else. So yeah, we chugging, and that's the view back down. Pretty sure it's just there, so I'm like 5 minutes away. Mountain, Snoqualmie Pass way down there. Over there, way down there, ooh, there's a decent shot of Mason Lake, and it's almost snow-free. Should be good for a not too tepidly freezing swim here in a couple more weeks. Mount Defiance, I can see the trail going up over there. At some point, Nash and I will come hit up those. And since I didn't get to post it in a good spot back at the trail junction, I'll either post it right there, or conversely when I get back down and I pass the trail junction, either or. So if you don't see it there, check the trail junction timestamp. If it's not there, then we haven't done it yet. But that's the Pratt River Valley down there, and then further deeper into that, I need to look up and see what mountains those are, but that's further north. The reason I turned the camera on in this spot of all spots is because all the phlox is out. All these pretty pale purple ground cover plants, alpine plants. That's how you know you're getting high up. I mean, we're at 5,000 feet now. We've got less than 100 feet of elevation gain. Probably only another 100 yards or so of distance. And yeah, being on top of the ridge, it's gonna be breezy. I am possibly regretting not putting the mic on, but if it's only this last part, it should be fine. And I'll definitely put it on when I take the long exposure looking directions. But yeah, momentarily away. Ooh. And this is when I get a teensy bit of vertigo. The trees are helping, but straight down on both sides, even though I'm on a fairly wide trail, I get little bits of vertigo up here. Even though I love being up here, it just plays with me. It also might be because I'm not in the greatest of shape, and I'm heaving and hoeing and struggling a bit. But yeah, all them pretty pointy mountains. So I believe the pointiest one there is Kalitan Peak, K-A-L-E-T-E-N, something like that, Kalitan or something. I'll put the correct spelling up it there. Oh, Baker spotting right there. Put a circle on it, right where the close ridge of Mount Defiance comes in, and the farthest ridge away. Baker poking out. Oh, this is nice. Ooh, I definitely need a lot more treadmill time though, and you did not make the same mistake this upcoming winter. I thought I could just rely on the amount of skiing to keep me in shape, and well, didn't ski enough and ate too much. So I am the chunkiest I've ever been and the most out of shape I've ever been. Being the oldest I've ever been doesn't help either, but so I think I'm pretty close to it. Not much further. And I think somewhere in here I'm just going to call it a stopping point. Let me look at my map, because I think the top point's just up there, not in all the trees. Yeah, and it's treed in and not as good a view, so I'm gonna find me a semi-flat rock right there and call it. And it is 9:55, so 2.5 hours to go 3.5 miles. They were very steep, 3.5 miles, very steep at points. Welcome to Bandera Mountain, and I think I will find a flat rock over here to eat and set up a tripod and shoot a nice big fat long exposure looking at multiple directions, and there's people there, so I'm going to backtrack to this flat rock. Shoot a long exposure first looking over at Mount Rainier, and then I'll spin it around and have it look north further into the Alpine Lakes wilderness backcountry. I want a flat rock. Yes, I do. This is a flat rock. Yes, it is. Cool. Good. Let it run till 11. Oh, it's chilly on this side. Let's see if I can't find a rock to lean up against. Although, I don't think it's going to go anywhere. Alrighty, it is approximately 11:15. I took a long exposure looking both directions. I will post Mount Rainier 1, which now the clouds have gone after I took my long exposure, and hold the camera steady for a couple of seconds, and there's Mount Adams too. Some in a bitch. So I'll post the Mount Rainier 1 looking that direction, if I didn't already. And then I also took one looking this direction, testing out the quality of the fuzzy microphone I have. It was probably on the edge. Well, ooh. Ground plant. What is that? Heather. Duh. Oh. Thank you. I also took a video, as I was trying to say, looking to the north towards Mason Lake, Mount Defiance, Mount Baker, and the rest of the northern Cascades in the Alpine Lakes Wilderness. I'll post that there. And that one will really test to see the quality of the microphone, because there was probably a consistent 10 or 15 mile an hour wind blowing most of the time. So I am really intrigued to see how well the mic works. I mean, I originally bought the mic because being at Uncle Jim's, the wind's always blowing, and the first couple long exposures were terrible because there was no mic to buffet the wind out. And it seemed to do well there, but usually when taking the long exposures in the morning and evening, it's not super windy, it's breezy, but it was pretty windy up here for a decent amount of time. The back half of that long exposure is going to be muted because a not so considerate pair of young ladies sat less than 10 feet away from the camera and proceeded to complain about their boyfriends for 15 minutes before I got fed up and turned it off. So there'll still be video, just no sound, because we don't need to listen to their conversation. And yes, I try to be as courteous as possible around people with the camera. I try to edit out as much of other people and their conversations as possible. But when you're on a trail as popular as this, it's impossible to edit it all out. So I'm not trying to film people on purpose. It's just how it goes. It's just the nature of the business. And the marmot was down here on the rocks over there a little ways, but he's long since gone. He disappeared before I spun the camera around and took the northward looking long exposure. But whew, it's warm. Off the spine of the ridge, out of the breeze. Still got my long sleeves on because that breeze was chilly, but now it is not chilly. Oh, I'm not looking forward to the straight down section. My toes are not going to be happy with me. But, oh well. Let's continue, and hopefully, I mean, I know I'll get some video going straight down, because show you what it's like to go down. But after that, I'll try to get a short chunk of video at the Mason Lake and Mount Defiance intersection. And then after that, who knows? Well, it's time for the fun bit. The straight down scamper. And as you can see, we're literally just straight down. Roll it over the lip of this shoulder of the ridge. And bonsai. And yeah, no, especially for this going down part. I almost wish there wasn't a trail. I could just side hill scamper up and down. Big bomber. A couple of big bombers. Hunting up the early huckleberry flowers. This is the part I'm least excited for, and it's what's going to take me the longest time. This is probably going to cause me to not get back till like 1:30, 2 o'clock is going to be my guess. Although, once I get off this, you're pretty much at the junction. And from there, it's just a traversing switchback, so, and that I could absolutely fly on down. But yeah, you gotta remember, when you go up steep shit, you gotta go back down that steep shit. And it's gonna be unfun.
Okay.
Straight down. Straight down. Not exciting. Like I was saying earlier in the video, I'd much rather go up than go down. I do not like going down, especially shit this steep. But I came up it. I gotta go down it. Going up hurts your front of your thighs. Going down, this is why people complain about having bad knees and shit, is doing this, because all the stress is on your knees, because you're trying to keep your muscles activated and locked up enough so you don't fall down, but you also gotta relax them enough to let your knee bend so you can step down, but at the same time not relax them so much that your knee just collapses and you go onto the trail and roll down the hill. So this sucks. Me no likey. Me no likey one bit. This is when someone gets hurt. They've already done more than half the trail, done the hard part. Now they're going down. This is most likely when they let their concentration slip, or they're just straight up dog tired. Alright, we have made it back down off the scramble to the junction. Left and up is Mason Lake and Mount Defiance. Right and up is the way we came, and we're going left and down. If and when Nash and I, or just myself, come back to go to at least Mason Lake, I will post that there. And of course, if we come back multiple times and go further to like Mount Defiance or further past Mason Lake, like to Rainbow Lake or something, I'll put that video there. Whatever one's longer and more entertaining, we'll get that spot. At first it might just be Mason Lake, if that's all we do is go to Mason Lake. If I'm with like Sabrina or something. And then eventually when we go farther to Defiance. This spot just cleared of snow. All the ferns are still laying down, the trilliums have just come out. It's probably an avalanche spot here, which is why it's all laying down still. Minor avalanche came through here at some point and compacted it more, because all this stuff's already sprung back up and the shrubbery isn't wiped out. But yeah, time to boogie on down the hill. One last good look at Rainier, and away we go. Just cruising on down. We're down low enough elevation to where we're in pretty good sized forest again, and have been for a little while. Mount Rainier has been gone behind the ridge line. We're making pretty good time. It's only noon. Been less than an hour. It only took me half an hour to come down all the way down and get to the rocks in the intersection, whereas it took us probably 45-50 minutes to go up. We are at 3,500 feet, so yeah, we've already lost 1,500 feet. We've only got about another 1,300 to go. But if it's like this, depending on how long I stop at the bridge, I might be back to Rex by like 1 o'clock, which is a ding. Big husky. See, that's the proper way to have your dog on the leash. Morning.
Morning.
That's the proper way to have your dog on a leash. By the leash that can clip into like a boat loop or something. That way you don't have to sit there and hold on to them with your hand. You're still free to move around. They can still shuffle around. Anywho, I thought I'd let you know. Progress. It has been breezy just because it's the middle of the day and it's still spring, so there's still unstable weather, even though it's been sunny for who knows how long, and we haven't had rain in what feels like forever. It's warm though. It's definitely a bit warmer down here, another 1,500 feet. The temperature drops like 5 degrees every 1,000 feet, I think, so it's probably 8 or 9 degrees warmer down here by now. But something like that. I'll have to look up the quote-unquote official conversion. But that's something important to remember when you're going places like Grand Canyon or when you're in the mountains, to know what your temperature conversion rate is. So you look up, say, North Bend at 1,800 feet or 1,500 feet, whatever, and it says, oh yeah, it's going to be 65 and sunny, and you want to go up to the top of Bandera Mountain at 5,000 feet. Well, there's 3,500 feet of elevation difference, and then if you know how much temperature changes per 1,000 feet, I think it's like 4 or 5 degrees, and you can go, oh yeah, it's going to be 25 degrees. Is it 25? I'm just spitting out a random. 5 by 1,000, 3,500, so no, 18. It's gonna be like 17 or 18 degrees cooler. So round up 20 degrees cooler, and that's if the sun comes out and it's not windy or rainy or whatever. But yeah, we're back in the deep forest. We're not quite back onto the old road bed yet. We're still losing elevation quite quickly, but we're chugging along.
I was like, oh,
Afternoon.
this is cool. They're also a person, you know. And then I was like,
Shouldn't be too much longer, I don't think. Alright, let's see how many people are at the waterfall now. I see a lot. It's a good thing I got my pictures and video this morning, but yeah, I just tripped on the one route that's sticking out in 100 feet of trail. That's right. We'll get some video of it in better daytime and daylight, and then I'll probably run the outro. Howdy. That's cool. Look at it from over here. God, that's a big slide. Look at it through those trees. God damn. Yeah, that's pretty impressive. Am I okay to cross? You guys done taking pictures? Can I cross? Yeah, thank you. Not nearly as impressive upstream, but downstream is a whole different story. Yeah, dude, that's cool. That is cool shit. My legs are tired, they're starting to jiggle. Yeah, that's cool stuff. And the point of McClellan Butte. Alright. Oh, we'll get out of the sound of the creek here a little ways. And in between people, I will run the outro. Which is going to be interesting because there's people passing all the time. Alright, that should be good. You should be able to hear me, right? So, thank you for joining me on this Cooley Outdoors adventure where we did the Ira Spring Trail up to Bandera Mountain. If you liked the video, please give it a like and subscribe. If you didn't like the video, yes, of course, go ahead and hit the thumbs down button. But either way, tell me what you did or did not like the video, please. Let's do ratings. Accessibility, 5 stars. You cannot get much easier access for a trail like this. You literally drive up a 4-lane interstate, 45 minutes from Seattle, get off an exit, and drive up a well-groomed dirt road for 15 minutes. But because of that, everybody and their cousin will be here if the weather is nice, especially on the weekends. So if you're not here early, you ain't getting a spot. And I'm sure when I head out, there's gonna be people parked alongside the road for a long distance. Difficulty. I'm gonna give it a solid 4 stars. It is about an 8-mile round trip, which is probably at the edge of the limits for most people's day hikes that they're comfortable doing. It is steep. You gain almost 3,000 feet of elevation, and that scramble there after the trail splits, going up and going down, will kick you right in the butt. So yeah, I'm gonna give it a solid 4 stars. Hard trail, not impossible, not extreme, but it will kick your butt and it will give you good exercise and enjoyment. I'm gonna give it either a 3 or 4 stars. I'm not gonna count the tons of people on this trail against it because that's just unfair. It's not the trail's fault that it became popular, but for how easy it is to get to, it's a pretty dang good trail. You get pretty good views. The scramble is a pain in the ass, and it feels like this trail takes a long time at points to get anywhere, but the views are worth it. And if you can plan it right and get here early, it makes for a nice quick little half-day trip, because it is only 12:40. It's taking me an hour and a half, and I'm probably going to get back to Rex by 1 o'clock. So yeah, enjoyment, like a 3.5 stars. not quite a 4 stars, just because, yeah, the forest is nice, but most of it's second growth forest, and a decent portion of the trail is just on a fairly recently decommissioned road, so they could move the trailhead back at some point to give more parking. But I mean, it's still scenic. The wilderness boundary obviously has been moved closer to the trailhead and takes up more trail now than it used to, even with the reroute of the trail. So as time goes on, more of it will stay old growth versus could possibly be logged at some point. So yeah, I think like a 3.5 stars would be appropriate for the destination. It is pretty good. It's an overall quality trail. Would I do this again? Not anytime soon, but I mean, it serves its purpose well. It's one of the first high up strenuous trails to open up in the season. It definitely serves its purpose, and obviously a lot of people get a lot of enjoyment out of it. And yeah, we'll be up this trail, not necessarily to Bandera, maybe anytime soon, but we'll definitely be going to Mason Lake and Point Defiance and other destinations. So yeah, I feel 3.5 stars is pretty fair. But that'll be it for this time. I've been Brandon Scott and Cooley Outdoors. I'll catch you next time. Ciao.